Welcome to The Ancient Way. I'm James.
I'm Marlia.
I'm Laurel.
Yes. Another special guest. And here's a little Easter egg. Our intro and outro song, the vocals in that intro and outro song is none other
Then Laurel.
than Laurel.
It me.
That me. Yeah, dude. You know, I think the name of this podcast actually for me stirred from that because Laurel just went into that.
Yeah.
She went into this whole thing during worship of like, we remember the ancient way.
Mm-hmm.
And then she says, which is not on the podcast or not on our clip, but she says, Yeshua lead us. And it's so profound. It's like everything, the ancient way is being led by the Lord himself.
Yeah.
You know?
And if you listen real carefully, you can hear it at the end.
Yeah.
If you listen real carefully.
Just kind of dips out.
But. Yeah. Well, I know probably about a week ago, you've always been on our minds as a guest, but like a week ago, we were talking. I was like, we've got to get Laurel on here.
Oh, yeah.
She's next. Got to be on here.
I was hoping you guys would ask me. I wasn't going to be like, let me be on your podcast.
Just like hint at it. Who's next? Who's
well, it's
the
just
next
so
guest?
cool.
Yeah. Well, we were honored to have you here.
Yeah, man.
Absolutely. And like,
you have one of the dopest stories.
Yeah.
I hope we get deep into it.
Yeah. And that's the thing with this. Like, there are no boundaries.
Yeah.
So feel free, whatever you want to say.
Full permission to go there.
You're good.
Nice.
You don't have to be PC.
Yeah.
There's no politically correct here.
Well, let's kick it off with a question that we always begin with. Laurel, do you believe in life on other planets? If so, please expound. And if not, please expound.
Oh, I don't know. I think that's the easiest answer. I have this, like, I don't want to call it a conspiracy theory because I'm not, like, telling anybody about it, but I feel like when it comes to, like, aliens and stuff and the alien abduction theory and everything, I think it's actually our governments, you know? So and this is just, like, a funny, like, thing that I thought of.
It's a thought.
How great of a cover-up would it be? Because you can't humanely just take people and test on them, you know, right? Unless they think it's aliens abducting them.
Yeah.
So wouldn't it be the best cover-up story for,
it's so valid because they're fully capable of doing that.
Yep.
Well, MK Ultra.
Yeah. You know, you could just inject them with some drugs and make them think that something else is. You could dress up, inject them with some drugs and dress up in a weird suit while you're doing your experiments. And then,
That's fascinating.
And then put them back, return them back to their home.
Back in their...
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of them
normal
report,
mind.
you know, trackers being put in them and all kinds of stuff. And the thing is, like, I can't speak to if there's life on other planets. And even if there was, it just seems really unlikely that they would have the same sort of drives and motives that humans do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it seems very like when you think of the most cynical side of science, which we know they've done some really weird and inhumane things, like just sounds like something they would do.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, yeah.
as to life on other planets, I have no idea. That's way above my pay grade.
I'm still stuck on... So Anthony said when he came on here, he was like, what if life on other planets, they're just waiting for Earth to be redeemed to come back because they're in a redeemed state. Like they never fell. And so to come down to like cohabitate with us or whatever.
Click back on the network or something.
Yeah. Is for us to become the new Jerusalem, like
really
all of heaven. It's just an interesting thought. I'm not saying it's anything, but it's got my wheels turning.
Yeah, definitely.
Another really interesting thing, I was watching Neil deGrasse Tyson's, he used to be a professor, and it was one of his classes, and they were talking about aliens, and he was talking about intelligence and how the difference between us and a primate, our DNA only has like 1% difference, right? And that 1% difference is the difference between like a primate can only get up to like a 4-year-old intelligent level, you know, versus us. So if aliens even just had a 1% difference in their DNA, that could be we could be the 4-year-olds to them, right? He was saying they could have systems so advanced that you could be in a people zoo right now and not even know it. Capitalism could be an alien construction. Like, all of this could actually be, we already got invaded. And I was like, do you know something?
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, put alien or put demonic, like
interchange.
Nephilim, Nephilim, like exchange the word. It's like, it's actually the same in my mind. Alien versus.
Yeah, here's an interesting thought. What if, like, I've heard people say that aliens are demons. Starships, all these things are demonic. What if they're not? What if they're on our side, they're angelic? And then what if the government is demonic? And they're like keeping them out.
Uh-oh.
Like, what if it's just flipped?
Wow.
I got to sit with that one a minute.
Yeah. But
that's crazy to think about.
Because, I mean,
it is high-level intelligence.
Yeah. And I've always wanted to go outside and watch the stars. I have before. I just haven't made it a consistent thing. But one night I did, and I was just looking up at them, and 3 of them formed into a triangle and then stayed in that formation and floated away.
Oh, God.
And I was like, oh, interesting. And it's like, what does that mean? What happens when we stop and just pay attention?
Yeah.
Or be present and just, without any distractions?
When I was probably 13 or 14, watching the sky was like my favorite thing to do at night. I would like count satellites and stuff. And there was one night that I was out there.
Because you were in Florida, right?
No, this was, I guess I was like, 14 or 15. I was in Texas by then.
Oh, okay.
You can't see the stars where I lived in Florida. What?
Oh, okay.
And too big of a city. But so I was sitting outside and I was watching the sky and counting satellites and watching airplanes and stuff. And then I saw these green lights like come. They weren't moving fast enough to be like a shooting star or anything, right? So I kind of thought, and back then I believed in aliens. And I was like, that's definitely aliens. Now I'm like, this could be angels. It could be a number of things.
Did you know that I've seen like green orbs?
Oh, really?
Like literally. Like we just talked about this on the podcast.
Yeah.
That in my natural eye, I've seen green orbs just come in. And it had like 3 layers into it. So it's interesting that you just said that.
The green lights.
About the green lights.
Yeah.
Oh, but also with UFOs, what a great cover up for them to test their new technology.
Yeah.
Governments and stuff,
yeah,
right?
Definitely.
We don't know what that is.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
I don't know.
Or if they found it.
It's unidentified flying objects.
Yeah.
Yeah, if they found it.
Yeah. It's a big gray area, unidentified flying objects. Yeah, they may have found it and are testing something else. Something, some sort of heavenly, supernatural technology.
Well, it makes me think of like, we don't have to go down these rabbit trails.
We can, though.
But like CERN.
Oh, yeah.
It's a particle accelerator, right?
Oh, yeah.
Over in Europe.
Yeah. But they're supposed to release, I think they just started on Tuesday again. They actually had like this whole demonic worship set to open CERN. It was like dancing with these goat, half human, half.
Are you talking about the ballet? That they filmed like this ballet about CERN. I wonder if that's it.
Well, maybe, but it was an opening ceremony when they first launched it in 2008. It was like this full-blown demonic worship. Anyways, well, every time they keep trying to use it,
you think they're trying to open a portal?
They point blank have said they're opening a portal.
Yeah.
Like they're trying to tap in. They have this technology that they're trying to open portals to bring beings from the other side or from another realm and give them space to land.
Yeah.
I mean, they've point blank, like that's like public knowledge. But anyways, you're talking about the technology. That's what it made me think of is like.
I think that's a good little entry point. Something that I took a little bit of notes this morning. I never prepare for anything, but when I think about it, if I don't write it down, I forget it. But I was thinking, like them trying to open a portal, if you can try to put yourself in their perspective, like they're seeking for advancement or power or substance of something. And so I kind of understand.
Or even to just prove that other dimensions exist.
Yeah.
They might not know
it's like they're reaching out to something. The fact that they know, like, we can open a portal. It's like the Travis Scott concert. He's like, they're in connection with something, and there's some sort of power to it.
Yeah.
And I think people want to know.
Mm-hmm.
And what's available, or what I've noticed is available, is like music. There is like the occult section in like the bookstore. It's just like a whole section there, you know?
Yeah.
But the church is everywhere here, but nobody's going to it because there's no fruit.
Yeah, the spirituality of church has been shut down.
But everybody has that. Like they want
the
to
drive.
know. Yeah, it's like, what is it? What's real? You know, anyways. So that's interesting. Every time they do something like that, I wonder, I'm like, do they know the true gospel, or do they know, you know, are they blatantly going against God? It's like you can't deny him unless you know him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe anyways.
Yeah.
But anyways, little rabbit trail maybe.
I like that though. I like the idea of giving people the benefit of the doubt. You know, like not everything is totally malicious. And I mean, I think some of it full blown, they come into partnership with demons.
I'm sure some do know.
I do think that's real.
Yeah.
But
it's been going on for so long.
Totally.
All these deities that teach people how to build structures and how to do things.
Read the Old Testament.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
how to control the
Old
weather,
Testament
like all of it.
Just watch Ancient Aliens.
Yeah.
Ancient Aliens. Watch Ancient Civilizations. Read the Book of Enoch.
Yeah, definitely.
Read the Sumerian text, the Babylonian text, the Bible. The Bible. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I'll be a broken record on that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I love that we're talking about the supernatural reality, because you came into this whole life, like true Christianity, through the means of supernatural.
Oh, yeah.
So will you kind of expand on that? And I really want you to share your story.
Do you want me to start from the beginning, or?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely.
Wherever you feel like is a good segue pocket.
Okay, so funny thing is, it really started with a band called Tool. You guys know that band?
Yes.
So, no.
I love 36 and 2. It's one of my favorites.
So that album, Lateralis, this is so crazy. So after my dad passed away, I went crazy. Nuts. I was like a teenager.
How old were you when your dad died?
I was 17, and he was my only guardian. So after that, I was essentially, nobody was telling me what to do. I'm a teenager. I can do whatever the heck I want. So naturally, I just got really high all the time. Smoked a lot of weed, and I would listen to music. And Tool was my favorite band at the time, that Lateralis album. And I started noticing, like, some of the lyrics just did not make any sense. And I started looking them up, and it led me to Theosophy, which is a school of thought. It was really made popular by Helena Blavatsky in the 1800s. She was this rich trust fund baby, essentially, and traveled the world studying different forms of spirituality, trying to find the truth. And she was one of the first women to be allowed to, like, live with the monks in Tibet. She studied in India. She's all over the world. And she basically founded the occult as we know it today, what you would call
New Age?
The Church of Satan, really.
Oh, the Church of Satan.
Which New Age, all of it can track back to that, essentially.
Yeah.
But in different commercialized ways. But so, and the funny thing is how Hitler is actually connected to her too. So what she came to the conclusion was there used to be a civilization here called Atlantis, and they were ascended beings, right? Well, Atlantis fell, but the seed of Atlantis, there was like a little pocket of people that ended up making it to Europe and spreading across Europe. That's the sign of the swastika, was the sign of their people. And it's crazy because if you look at ancient Tibet and ancient India and stuff, you do see like the symbol of the swastika.
The swastika is one of the 13 symbols that is in every single ancient civilization.
Yeah.
Literally to date. Like they found it at Göbekli Tepe.
That's what you mentioned, yeah.
Well,
it's one of them.
This traces back to her theology, her theosophy. Is that was the quote unquote race that we need to bring back that bloodline, essentially. That's where Hitler got
the
all
blue
of that
bloods.
So you get into like alchemy and occult and all of this stuff. Essentially, she was trying to bring back that race of people.
Yeah.
But that's kind of where it all starts, really, and it branches out into. And when you say New Age, it's such a massive umbrella, right? So not everybody.
Is that like saying like the Christian church?
Yeah,
where you've got
church,
like
So,
Catholicism, then you've got Baptist, then you've got Methodist. Okay.
So that's kind of how I started diving into what would be not mainstream stuff. And that led me to this place. It was a website called Spirit Science. And actually, Stephen Bancars, who created it, is actually a Christian now, which is really, really cool. But it goes into like the emerald tablets with Thoth and all of this stuff. And it introduces you to the idea that you can channel beings, that you can channel spiritual beings. So anyways, Thoth and the emerald tablets and all of these ideas about lucid dreaming and astral projection, this whole world opens up to me as this 17, 18, 19-year-old within, those first 3 years. I started really practicing lucid dreaming and astral projection. I only astral projected once, and after that I stopped trying because it was terrifying. I was still living with my older sister, so I was probably 18. Or
you use the binary beats, didn't you, to try and astral project?
No, not for astral projection. You can use binaural beats to put yourself in a altered state of consciousness, and there's different binaural beats for different things.
Yeah.
So there are binaural beats for astral projection and lucid dreaming and all that kind of stuff. I used a trance. It was a guided trance that I found in the really weird deep parts of the internet.
Yeah.
And this guy basically takes you down into this hypnosis to leave your body.
Mm-hmm.
And the imagery was actually really cool. I remember because it starts out like you're walking down these steps on the side of a cliff down into the ocean. And the deeper into the ocean you get, the deeper into your subconscious mind you get. And
interesting.
Eventually you forget that you're even listening to anything. So I was laying there. This was really also the first spiritual experience I think I had. So I was laying on my floor listening to this astral projection hypnosis, and all of a sudden I like sat up and I looked down and I was still laying down, and I stood up and I like looked down at my body, and then I looked up and my closet door was a portal into this, like, the only way I could describe it is like it looked like the Salvador Dali painting with the melted clocks. So it was like this desert scene, and there were these like animals with like really long arms and stuff, and they were like in this place, and then they like all of a sudden looked over at me, like they realized I was there and started walking towards my closet door, and it scared me, and I like snapped back into my body, and I was like, I'm not doing that
Interesting.
again. But I did practice a lot with lucid dreaming, and probably about a year later, I actually think this is the first time that I didn't realize it, but I think this is the first time that I actually met Jesus. So about a year later, I'd gotten like really good at lucid dreaming, and when I was like in it, when I realized I was dreaming, I always tried to, because when you realize it, then you can start creating things in your dreams. And I always tried to make this like little garden area that I would go to, right?
If that's not the most beautiful thing, though.
Right. So I go to this place, and then I'm trying to remember exactly how it was. This is like over 10 years ago now. But so there was this garden, and then there was a person there, and they walked like further than I had like built, and I followed them, and it was like these woods, and they started running, and I started running after them. Like I really, really wanted to catch them.
Oh, you mean like into the wilderness?
Yeah.
Into the forest?
So I'm like running after this being, and it feels like like a game of chase, you know? It felt very playful. And then all of a sudden I got really sad because I felt like I was never going to catch them. And I busted out of the forest into this field of wheat. And it was like the sky, the sky was like this shimmering, it was like purple blue, it was like shimmering, and the grass was like waving like the ocean. And there was a man standing there. And I walked up to him, and it was so strange because I was looking at this person, and it looked, the only way I could describe it is this person had every face that ever existed in one face. Like their eyes were so familiar, like everybody's eyes combined into one was this person. And so he just like hugs me, and I felt like I'd known them forever, you know? In my frame of mind, I'm thinking like, is this somebody that I've reincarnated with thousands of times? Because at that time, I didn't know really anything about Christianity and really believed in reincarnation. So I was like, okay, maybe this is like me, you know? So I like hug this person, and I hugged him and let go, and then they basically say like, okay, you have to go back now. And I got so sad. I just got so sad, and then I like woke up from the dream. And looking back, I really do believe that was.
Oh my God! Well, I'm trying to unpack it. The
100,
whole thing.
100%. That was the Lord.
The first thing it made me think of when you said he had every face and like every eye, it's like we're all an aspect of him. We're all him.
The imagers of Christ.
This is, I feel like it's the most beautiful picture. You know how the church can religiousize the crap out of, like, it's in 1 Corinthians, how we're the body.
Yes.
Like that's what it means to be the body. Is that every single one of us actually has a part of his own face. You know what I mean? Like, this is what it means to be one body. Like, oh.
And he said something before he said I had to go back, and I just can't remember. I had written it all down, and I used to keep my experiences and stuff in my notes on Facebook. So people thought I was so weird because I would write these things down and publish them so that I had them somewhere, but I don't have a Facebook anymore. So anyways.
Well, it's in the cloud. We can retract it somehow.
Somewhere.
I haven't, reread it in a long time, and it's been so long, I can't exactly remember, but that.
Do you know what I love the most about this?
What?
It's the Lord is, I really do believe this. The Lord is in everybody, and he's calling to people all the time to come on. And even when you try to get into things in your own strength, and I think that looks like the beats and when you're trying to work into an experience, like the Lord still met you there.
He's wooing everybody, like almost like a husband and a bride,
Totally.
calling them.
And he's not like forceful. He just like kind of showed up there, and then you're the one that chased him. Well, he's so playful and just like allowing you to follow him and to find him on your. I don't know. It's just so beautiful.
And to go through different stages, like go through the stage of being in the garden and connecting to the life, and then you go into the forest where it's the supernatural, and then the harvest being a place where you actually get to pour out to people, because it says that the harvest is ready, and like, I don't know, that's where my mind went.
Well, even the scripture that talks about like if you accept this person, you're accepting me, or if you reject
blessed
this person,
is he who comes in the name of the Lord. It says like you won't see me again until you say blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord.
Yeah, it's crazy because like that was such a beautiful experience, but simultaneously really dark things were happening too.
Yeah.
So I had
what? It's just a question. What pulled you? Like I know you said the song, it led you into this lady and all this thing, but what was like pulling you? What were you seeking?
I was seeking ancient knowledge that had been hidden from the masses.
For what purpose?
I've always just been somebody that needs to know the truth.
Okay.
I needed
was
it.
hunger.
That seed of eternity and that hunger to know.
So hungry for it.
Okay.
So in the meantime, like that's a beautiful dream, but I was also having what the person who I went and saw called hypnagogic hallucinations at night. So I was having night terrors almost every night, where the way that the psychologist described it was, or the sleep specialist, was that my brain was waking up out of REM sleep, but all of the chemicals still had me paralyzed.
Wow.
Now I understand it was like demonic activity, right? So I would wake up and I couldn't move. I couldn't move and I couldn't breathe, and I would just be trapped, and I would see these like shadows and stuff in my room. And one night it was so vivid. I had woken up into this hallucination or whatever, and there was a man standing at the end of my bed, and he just like cut his throat open with a knife. Yeah. And when I like came out of it, I was like screaming. So the New Age introduced me to the fact that spirituality was real, but there's no protection there. And there is other spirituality other than Christ, right? And that stuff was trying to interact with me too. And I didn't realize what was happening. Now looking back, I'm like, wow, that all makes so much sense now. But at the time, I didn't really know. So fast forward, I start taking like a different turn into Wicca. So I got really into tarot cards and crystal healing and divination.
And Wicca, isn't that I don't think it doesn't have a clear definition of what it is, but it is almost like the worship of like creation and like nature, right?
Yeah, it's more ritualistic. Okay. Yeah, because you are communing with nature as a deity, essentially.
And that's interesting because I think there's an aspect of that is healthy. I think creation, we're meant to steward it, but like it is alive and we bring it to life. You know, we don't necessarily.
You don't worship it.
Yeah, it's worshiping the creation instead of the creator. Yeah. Essentially. I got into that kind of stuff. And then at around that time, my regular life got pretty chaotic. I got into a pretty terrible relationship, and the spirituality stuff kind of went on the back burner because I was, kind of entranced in that. So I'm still kind of learning about that stuff, but not really dedicating myself to the practice of it.
Yeah.
So fast forward a few years, I go through that breakup, kind of spiral out even further. I got into like a really, really, really deep depression that lasted about 6 months, where I was essentially catatonic. Sometimes I would just lay in my bed and just stare at my wall for hours. And it was almost like disassociating, And then, this is so weird. One day I was laying there and I was staring at this candle that was in my room. And it was like the flame came alive in the candle. And it was like moving. But in a way, it was like everything within me was like, this candle flame is trying to talk to me or something. The way that it was dancing.
Were you high or were you clear?
No, I was depressed at that point. I wasn't. Yeah, at this point, I wasn't smoking weed anymore because it had started giving me panic attacks. And,
Okay.
I was having a lot of panic attacks. And anyways, at that point, I had remembered like, oh, I remember a point in time when like the spiritual world was so alive to me. And remembering that kind of brought me out of it because it gave me something to focus on again. So I started, doing deep research again. And I went more sort of like the transcendental, mindful yoga meditation route at that point, because that's what they advertise to like heal yourself, right? So I went on that path of healing. And not all of it's bad. I think mindfulness meditation, it tracks right with centering prayer in Christianity. And I think it's very important for us to sit in silence and clear our minds and all this stuff. So not all of it is bad. And obviously, like having that dream where I'm pretty sure I met Jesus.
The first time.
The first time. I didn't recognize him for what he was at that point, but it was like, little seeds. But so got really into yoga and meditation, became a vegan, and kind of went sort of the self-help route at that point. And then I moved back to Tyler, and I hooked up with this kind of group in town that's really into the metaphysical studies. It's kind of like a hodgepodge group. Everybody kind of practices their own spirituality in it. but they would get together so many times. I think it was once or twice a month. Maybe it was just once a month, and just talk about that kind of stuff. And that introduced me to like energy healing and Reiki and that kind of stuff. I kind of went down that avenue, and it was actually in that I truly met the Lord. I was up at a healing retreat with some Reiki masters, and they put me in this what they called a vortex, which
weren't you like basically dubbed as like the golden child, like you were going to be like the next ascended master?
I mean, not so like
maybe a little
so
bit
dramatic.
I'm pretty sure it was that dramatic.
I mean, at that point,
I was like,
kidding. I was playing music. I was going to music festivals.
I know, but everybody was into you, like into your vibe on that.
Yeah. I definitely had a lot of like friends and stuff. And the Reiki master
she had a following.
Interesting. Yeah.
Well, the Reiki master that I was with, I was kind of like apprenticing with her, so I was kind of her assistant and stuff like that. So I really loved her. She really
was the chosen one.
She definitely was the chosen one, dude. She's. I don't care what she says right now. She's playing it down. She was full blown the chosen one.
I was definitely really, really into it, and also very good at it.
Well, and it's like they knew that too, and it's like they were.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, at this point, I'd been deep into it for like a decade. When people are just starting to come online, it's just starting to be mainstream, right? So I definitely knew a lot and could tap into a lot because I'd been very used to it. So yeah, I was really pretty deep into it.
Yeah, there we go. Let the truth come out.
But
I'm just kidding.
Pretty deep into it. But anyways, I had gone. Oh, can I tell you guys about before I go on to that?
The vortex.
Before I go to the vortex, this one experience that I had.
Absolutely.
I was out actually in Athens.
I was gonna ask you. Yes. I was gonna be like, did you ever make your way to Athens by chance?
Yes. So I played at. Do you know what Marshmallow Jam is?
Yes.
Okay, so I was at every single Marshmallow Jam. Played there like I was queen of the Marshmallow Jam, dude. I love being there. And one night we were all out there and we had taken mushrooms and we'd gone out on the barge and we were essentially all skinny dipping in the lake. And then all of us at the same time had the same hallucination. The clouds turned into a brain, like an actual brain.
Oh.
It was so strange. And it was like a full moon. And I ended up on this surfboard. And this is an experience I think I had with what I would now call like the quote unquote moon goddess. Whatever spirit is over that.
Demon.
Yeah. Nephilim. But so strange. I just felt almost like so captivated by the moon that this like howling bursted out of me. It was crazy. This like howling and chanting. The lights off out there.
Yeah, they flip on and off.
Okay. This like howling and chanting.
Sounds like a werewolf.
Yeah. Literally.
All the people up on the shore when I came back, they were like, "What were you doing out there?"
Oh my gosh.
I was like, "I don't know, man. I just went into this like trance." They were like, "It sounded otherworldly." And I was like, well, I guess it was. But anyways, fast forward back.
The brain thing, it makes me think, it just made me think of like, that's an idea or a belief system of the carnal nature that's just, that's there and has this space.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Werewolves, my God.
Yeah, it was really weird.
Yeah, well, it's interesting.
Yeah. Anyways, Athens in itself is it's like a spiritual hotspot, really.
Yeah.
But lots of stuff gets kicked up out there.
I'll have to tell you what I know.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. Marshmallow Jam's really fun. The person who runs it is such a cool guy. Their family, they've been doing it since like the 60s or something. So it's like a real
interesting,
like an OG hippie festival.
Yeah.
Just in the woods. They've always kept it really small and just, people come and play music and anyways. So fast forward, I go to this healing retreat and
it's in Little Rock, Arkansas, right?
Yeah.
The other hub of
another spiritual hub. Yeah. The mountain's like made of quartz crystal and yeah, that's like supercharged energy that people use for healing or worship or whatever.
Hmm.
And which you can actually go up there and mine crystals and stuff. That's pretty fun.
That's cool.
We did that before we ended up going to the healing retreat. They just give you a bucket and a shovel, and you pay $40, and you get to keep whatever you find.
Oh,
Fascinating.
That's fun. Yeah.
Yeah. I came back with a whole box of, yeah.
Do you still have them?
No.
Oh.
So I went up to this healing retreat. They had the Reiki master that I was, hanging out with had put me in what they called like a vortex meditation trance thing. Basically, they like lay you down and open your energy centers, and then you fly away, kind of.
So then you leave your body.
Yeah.
So I was like deep in this meditation or trance, and it was like black, kind of like I was in a vacuum, like in the vacuum of space or something. It was like
it's a vortex,
yeah,
like a black hole or something.
yeah,
So it sounds
quieter than anything you've ever. It's the most silent, the most black, just void, and people that I had been studying and reading about were floating around me, like their heads almost. And it was like I remember
they just kind of appeared and just started
like
spinning
floating around.
You. Interesting.
And they were saying that they had left these Easter eggs in my life for me to find and go on this rabbit trail, essentially, that would lead me to ascending, right? Being like an ascended master or like God. And I remember being in it, and I remember having the thought, like, some of these people are still alive. Like, how are they floating around me like this? Like Oprah Winfrey, who is a huge New Age lady. She was one of them. Is her head like float? And I'm like, she is alive right now. Some of these people are alive, but they're floating around me like ghosts. And I had that thought and kind of like shimmered, it kind of dropped, and it was like scary. It was like being with demons at that point. And I snapped back in my body, and I had the thought of like, how did I get to this point? How did I get here? This is so wrong. It's like everything in me was on fire, like I was in hell.
Yeah.
And like, this is so wrong. And I thought, how did I get here? What have I done? And then all of a sudden, peace flooded me. Just 1 second, I was terrified and I was on fire. And then the next second, I was just flooded with peace. And Jesus was there. And this time, I absolutely recognized him. I didn't know his name, but I knew exactly like who it was. Like, this person is saving me. And in such a kind voice. I remember calling him Brother Dad afterwards because he was protective like a father, but so kind and approachable like a brother, playful, And in such a kind voice, he was like, hey, you don't know who you are, but I'm going to show you who you are. It's like, come with me. And I was like, yes, I will go with you anywhere. And I had like come out of it. And the crazy thing is and I didn't really tell anybody that I was with at that thing what had happened, because I was trying to like digest it and I didn't really know. So I kind of brushed it off like, oh yeah, like I had a pretty cool meditation where like my whole world was rocked at this point. They were like, what happened to you? Because while you were in that, a bald eagle flew by the window.
Holy freaking crap, dude.
Yeah, a bald eagle flew right by the window that I was like,
oh my gosh,
laying, and they were like, we've never seen that. And in that sort of circle, like, animals are so symbolic.
Also in Christianity.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So I was like, I don't know, man. I really don't know.
That's so beautiful. Like, that's him.
That is him.
Yeah. And at that point, after that, I came back to Tyler, and my world was just rocked. I was pretty disoriented. And I reached out to the only person that I knew that was a Christian. And it was actually the person who gave me my first tarot deck. His name was Gavin. And he was Wiccan. And we went to high school together. And he found Christ. And whenever he did, he was like, I can't have this stuff anymore. And I was like, give it to me. I want it.
So I don't care if you're a Christian. I want your stuff.
Yeah.
So I had inherited all of his new age stuff. Anyways, I reached out to him. I was like, hey, I have a lot of questions for you. So we like met up, and obviously he was so excited. And he took me on this journey to like all these different churches. And he's actually going to school to be in the priesthood for the Episcopal Church.
Interesting.
He's really cool and really deep into like the liturgy and, you know, the art that goes behind that kind of worship and stuff.
Yeah. The art behind it is beautiful. And some of these like cathedrals. And it's really intricate.
Even some of the ways that they worship is just really beautiful to watch. One time we went to an Eastern Orthodox church here going towards Coffee City. I can't remember what it's called. But we go in and the whole place is just like filled with incense. And like everybody stands the whole time. And it's like all in Latin, like chanting in Latin. And, you know, anyways, there's a lot of like idols and stuff. So,
yeah.
Anyways, it's really beautiful to see all of these paintings of people who have had experiences with the Lord. I don't think that we should be praying to them, which is like kind of where my theology and theirs split.
Yeah.
But to be there was very beautiful.
It's beautiful to honor them and the art and the creativity behind it.
Yeah.
And it's almost like it's like a physical display of like heaven or the spirit realm.
It is very, very spiritual.
Yeah.
So I had gone to all of these different places. And I met up with Gavin and I was like, look, there's something that I'm searching for that I have not found yet. And I was describing it to him and I was like, oh, I went to church with him one time. I think it was the first time I went to church. I went to Christ Church. And during their choir worship, I had this vision. And so I'm sitting there and I have my eyes closed and I'm just trying to feel what I felt when I was I was just trying to feel what I felt when I was up in Arkansas. And I'm sitting there and I'm like surrounded by this beautiful choir and it's like such a spacious church and everything. And I'm just like soaking in it. And all of a sudden I see this huge walnut. I see a huge walnut like in my vision and it like cracks open. And then there's this like sprout that comes out. And I come out of the vision and I'm like, guys, I just saw this. And they were kind of like looking at me like, what?
It's weird.
You just had a vision? To me, I'm like, this is normal, you know? Like, But anyways, so I go home and I look down and there's a little cracked walnut. I still have it. I made it into a necklace.
Oh.
I like wrapped it with like this gold wire and put it on a string as a cracked walnut sitting right there at my front door. So anyways.
Wow.
Yeah. I was like going around to all these different churches trying to find a place that felt like what I felt in Arkansas. And I'm like, Gavin, I just haven't found it. And he's like, all right, I'm going to tell you about this one place. I have a friend and she goes there every now and then, but it's pretty weird. And I was like, well, I'm up for anything. And he's like, okay, well, they meet on Friday nights. I'll go with you if you want me to. And I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. Let's go this Friday. I want to go. So Friday rolls around and he's like, oh, I actually can't go. Like, can we try next week? And I almost didn't go. I was sitting there. I was like, I don't want to go by myself to this place that he said was really weird, you know? Like, but anyways, I decided to go. And I show up to Hoff on Friday night. And this was before worship started. There wasn't hardly anybody there at that time. I think I was pretty early. And I sat down. I sat down in the chair and I'm just like looking around. And then the worship starts and Maya is up there. And I knew Maya. And I was like, yes, like, okay, thank God there's somebody here that I know. And Donna ended up sitting in the same row as me, but I didn't know her
I was
yet, right?
behind you. I remember the first night you showed up.
Oh, yeah.
I remember
dressed
you
all in my
Donna.
like hippie garb.
Yeah.
I was just like,
we all saw her.
Oh, yeah.
We all saw you, dude.
Anyways, I felt so awkward because I'd never been to a church by myself at that point. Gavin had taken me to all the places that I'd gone, so he was like a little safeguard for me.
Yeah.
But so worship starts, and I just feel sucked into like just this state of being. I like closed my eyes, and I'm just like sitting there, and I could feel the Holy Spirit washing over me in waves. And it got so intense. I was shaking so hard. I stood up to walk away, to walk out of the building to get some fresh air. And Donna just hugs me. She just like pulls me into this hug and she's like, it's okay. The Lord's just doing a work in you right now. But as soon as she hugged me, it like grounded me back into what I was doing. And, you know, I was like centered again and could, you know, get back into the worship or whatever. But I'm pretty sure that since then, other than having a baby, I don't think I've missed but like maybe 1 or 2 church sessions. It's so good.
Yeah.
But, anyways, Hoff was what I was looking for.
Was it the same feeling that you felt in that?
It was that feeling, that all-consuming like realness.
Because it wasn't about the people, it was about the person of the Lord.
Yeah.
Just looking for Brother Dad.
Yeah. I was just looking for Brother Dad.
That's so cool.
I think this is just side note. That's what I so value about Hoff, is that it is fully about the Lord.
Oh yeah,
like it's His person. It's being immersed in His person.
Yeah, that's how I was when I got there. I was like, my thing was like, this feels incredible. This feels like home.
Yeah,
these people know God. Like they know Him. And Maya was one of the ones that stood out to me. I was like, yeah, she knows God.
Yeah,
and it just connected with everybody. It's like this is right.
Funny story. I don't know if Maya has told you guys this story, but Maya was in the music program at TJC, and my sister was dating a guy who was also in the music program, and we used to have these like jazz jam nights at our apartment, and Maya came one night. This is still when I was in the New Age, and I tried to read her tarot. I was like dancing and stuff, funny. And Maya was dancing, and we were kind of like talking, and I was like, hey, you want a tarot reading? She was like, no. I was like, okay.
That's funny. We were, Marlia, before you got here, we were all talking about like all the interactions we've had and possibly had prior to everybody showing up at Hoff. Like all these little in passings and everything. That's funny.
Yeah.
You mentioned that.
Yeah. So when I saw her, I was like, ooh, familiar person. This feels way better now.
That's sweet.
Yeah. But the experiences that I've had since then, since meeting the Lord, I think that coming out of the New Age really prepared me for the realness that is the spiritual realm. So it was never a question for me.
Yeah.
Which kind of ushered in just immediately being swept into visions from the Lord and hearing the Lord's voice and dreams and stuff. I feel like, and He does this because He's so kind. He doesn't give anything that somebody's not ready for. They have to be seeking it and have a grid for it, really, for Him to introduce those kind of things.
Yeah.
And so I think I was really lucky that I didn't have to break down a bunch of religious grids. I already knew, I had already tasted and interacted with the spirit world, granted from the wrong side of the tracks.
Yeah.
But even there, He was so gracious to pull me back, you know?
Still show up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so... yeah, my life and my Christian walk, spirituality is intrinsic to it.
Yeah.
So
I love your willingness to share it, and that you're just solid.
Oh yeah.
But like, what's so cool about it, and this is encouraging to me. Like I love hearing your stories and everything, and I like look up to you. Just you know.
Wow.
But anyways, it's like
same.
What's so cool about it, and you sharing it, is like this is a very specific authority that you have, a very unique authority that you have, and it's like people can take this, even if somebody's in the middle of it right now. It's like you were like plunged yourself into the depths of this darkness, and you're not a victim of it. Like it's been conquered.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're like sharing the spoils with people
Yeah.
who are going through it. It's like, hey, look what, like I was in that, and now look, like this is the truth.
Yeah.
This is what this is. And it's authority.
Yeah.
And you have it.
All
And
the
you
people,
sharing it is power. Like,
yeah. All the people in that, they are looking for the truth.
yeah.
Totally.
A lot of them grew up in the church
Mm-hmm.
and left it, were burnt by it, burnt by the religion, by the rules, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And we all know, like, eternity is planted in the heart of man.
Mm-hmm.
So we are all searching for that.
Yeah.
And it's a very trickily disguised version because it gives you a taste of something that's real, but it's the counterfeit version of it.
It's the lesser than, truthfully.
Yeah.
Like,
because you end up worshiping yourself, essentially.
Yeah.
At the very end of it. When you break it all the way down into its bare bones.
Yeah. And what's interesting, like you mentioned, like Wicca, and even like the crystals, astral projection, like in yoga, and all these different things. It's like there's aspects of them that are true.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like the things that we can function in. We don't have to seek outer sources for it.
Mm-hmm.
But like, it's like they've been taken
Mm-hmm.
and turned into something else, something that we have to reach out and attain. But it's
well,
like,
it makes it more about self, like you having to obtain a thing.
Well, yeah, you have to do this.
But there's aspects of truth that have been stolen, and what is it called? Copycat or whatever it's called. Just like like nature, Wicca, worshiping that. It's like there's an aspect of that is like, all of creation is groaning for the sons of God to be revealed.
And the Lord is so present in nature.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Well, nature reveals him.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
You don't worship the nature. You actually can see more of the Lord's person in it.
Yeah.
Or like stretching your body is really, really great for your body and your mind.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't like.
Well, some people get bothered over meditation even.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like meditation is, it's good.
You should clear your mind to connect with the Lord.
Yeah.
Well, sitting still and meditating on the goodness of God. And
Yeah.
So
It's like, don't let them run off with the things that are ours, the healthy things that are ours, the fullness of what they are.
Yeah, for sure.
It's so beautiful, though. I love your story.
It took me a long time to be able to like talk to people about it for fear of judgment.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it feels good.
What do you feel like stirs your heart the most now about the Lord? Like going through everything that you went through and leading up to this, like what is it about the Lord that really stirs you?
His unyielding goodness. No matter who you are or where you are or what you're in. He's unyieldingly good. That aspect just literally blows my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is your favorite way to connect with the Lord? Being a new mom, and we have your 4 a.m. feedings and whatnot.
So the funny thing is the way that I've connected with the Lord has completely changed since having a child.
Mm-hmm.
Before, I loved connecting to God in the stillness and the silence and, just worshiping him alone and on my knees and, singing to him and stuff like that. I don't have time for any of that now.
The season of your life has changed.
But I've noticed that, like, whereas before, I made so much intentional time to connect with him, it's like he is making so much intentional time to connect with me. It has almost, like, switched where he shows up in my space all the time. Like last night, 4 a.m., and I'm feeding my child. And then all of a sudden I just get, and I only sent you a portion of the lyrics that I just got. So I just wrote them down really quick, and it was the Lord, and it was awesome. And I went back to sleep. Thanks, Dad. Or like being in the shower, or just like little pockets of space that he creates and shows up, and he's like, because sometimes I'll get overwhelmed, because I'm used to being.
You being the initiator of the connection, or like in your mind.
And being filled up in a specific way from the Lord,
Yeah.
Re-energized in a specific way, and not having a lot of time to read the Bible or, sit in those spaces. It kind of feels overwhelming, but for him to like show up like that is so beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
So, yep.
That's so sweet. I think that's why too, like the authority that you carry, especially in worship. I mean, your person carries authority, but like you can usher in like immense amount of breakthrough for people just because of the purity that you carry in connection to the Lord. It's like you are 100% yielded. Sorry, I was just thinking about like you leading worship and getting these lyrics and all these things, and it's like it's profound. And I feel like the depths, like you're going like deep into the depths of this thing, you know, because you really are a true carrier of his presence. And you're so willing to get outside of boxes. You know, like you're like, let's go there, you know.
I think that's available for everybody.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. But you're a great example of it.
Thanks.
You're a great example of what it looks like to be totally free. To be totally free in abandonment of just going after the Lord. And I think that's what's so cool about like the way that you connected to the Lord before was just so pure of like I really am after you.
Yeah.
And now it's like, hey,
I'm after you too.
I'm after you too. Like this, we are doing this together. This is a co-union, which I think that's what worship is.
Oh, I feel like worship on Sundays has even changed a lot for me since having Eloin. I think maybe it's like it might be a combination of going through suffering of childbirth and also sleep.
Sleep deprivation does something to you, man.
But yeah, being up there since becoming a mother has felt a lot freer. I don't know if you experienced that too after having Bexley, but
oh yeah,
it's just like a whole new level. It's really cool.
Yeah, my whole person definitely changed after having her. It was like even just stuff with the Lord looked totally different.
It's kind of hard to describe.
Unless you've been through it.
Yeah.
Then you're just like, you don't have to say anything. I know.
Yeah.
You know, I got you. I know what that is.
Yeah.
It's like a full transformation.
Yeah. Well, even how the Lord showed up in my birth was just incredible.
Oh, yeah.
Like things that happened.
Will you tell that story?
Yeah, I'll tell it really
because it's cool.
We were like almost at the hour mark. I got to go get Eloin pretty soon. But we were planning a home birth. Completely unassisted with midwives in my gazebo in a pool, and it was supposed to be like the most hippiest thing on the face of the earth. And I went to 42 weeks, and I thought I had been going into labor for like 20 days at this point. I was having labor pains. Like I was having Braxton Hicks before that, and I knew the difference, and I kept like telling my midwife and Steven like, something's going on because I'm having, this feels like it should be labor. And they kept saying like, oh no, your body's just like getting ready to go into labor and all this stuff. So crazy thing is we always had our appointments on Thursdays. That week, for some random reason, they had switched it to 2 days earlier. And we had gone in, and my midwife, Rosetta, who also really listens to the Spirit, was basically like, you need to go to the hospital. Like something's wrong. And it ended up that I had actually been in labor, and like all of my amniotic fluid was gone. And if we had waited, she could have potentially died. So all of these things that the Lord showed up in, and like directing her to send us specifically to Athens. Yeah. We had our baby in Athens.
Interesting. Oh,
and our OB had her babies at home with our midwife. But
there's the baby.
There's the baby. Oh. Almost on cue.
Yeah.
But all of this stuff, she fought to get into the world, but the Lord was there, and he was there the whole way, even like,
because you ended up having scoliosis.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't have been able to even birth her
at all, and nobody knew. So she would have like actually gotten stuck. And even my chiropractor was like, you making the decision to have a C-section when you did probably saved her life, because if she would have actually gotten down there, they might not have been able to get her back out.
Yeah.
She would have, suffocated.
But
it's so cool, man.
Yeah.
The Lord is in everything.
Yeah.
And that's what I think is sweet. Is like, that's the protection. That's like, you may have been dabbling in the spirit side on the other side of the tracks, but when you actually align yourself with Yahweh, you are under the shadow of the Almighty. And everything will line up for your protection.
Yeah.
He aligns all the things, even if it's not how you think it should be. Like, he puts the safeguards there.
Oh, yeah. And something that I fall back on a lot is, even when things look shaky or whatever, is that he works everything to the good for those who love him.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter what it looks like. You know it's going to end up good because you love him.
Yeah.
You know? So.
Yeah. You can rest on that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Well,
I love it.
I do
Thank you for sharing your story.
Yeah. Thank you for being on with us.
Oh, thanks for having me
on. It's a blast.
So fun.
Been looking forward to this. Totally worth it.
Oh, yeah. We're going to have a part 2, too.
Part 2, absolutely.
There are definitely a lot more. We could probably do a whole podcast just on experiences.
We should do
definitely
that.
A lot more.
Oh, yeah.
But,
yeah.
You know what? Season 2, it's going to be nothing but people's experiences.
Yeah.
Because we kind of went into my experiences in the New Age. I would love to get into some of the deeper stuff that I've experienced, like with the Lord.
We will.
Oh, yeah, because that carries way more of a punch.
Yeah. We definitely will. We can count on that.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, it's been real. How do you end it? Thank you for joining us on The Ancient Way. If you like this episode and would like to hear more, drop us a like, share with your friends, your family. If you have any feedback for us, feel free to email us at theancientwaypodcast@gmail.com. Once again, thank you so much for listening to us. We'll see you next time.